Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session on TCS NQT Verbal Ability from CV Corp, and I am your communication trainer, Amala. Okay, so let's just get started without any delay. So, if you notice, we have planned only one video actually. Covering all the topics, but since most of you have asked for a couple of doubts, we thought let's just cover up more topics. Okay, so today we are only going to learn verbal ability. Focus is going to be on reading comprehension, fill in the blanks, and vocabulary. So somebody who has doubt only on these specific topics, I think this will be of a good reference to you. Okay, yes. So let's just quickly get started with reading comprehension. Okay, now what I want you to tell you is, whenever you're reading a reading comprehension, you need to focus on each and every word that matters to the particular paragraph. For this one, let's start off with a very small one, and then we'll just kind of increase a little complexity to it. Okay, let's just look at it. Many people believe that success is the result of talent and intelligence. However, research suggests that perseverance, hard work, and a growth mindset play a far more significant role in achieving one's goals. Studies have shown that individuals who embrace challenges, learn from criticism, and persist despite difficulties are more likely to succeed. On the other hand, those with a fixed mindset who believe that abilities are innate and unchangeable tend to avoid challenges and give up easily. The key to long term success lies in continuous learning and ability to adapt. Now we can clearly understand this particular passage is talking about what people believe and what actual researchers have something to tell us. Okay, so let's look at the first question. What is the primary argument of the passage? Now let's look at the options. Success depends solely on intelligence. Okay, now if you look at the first line, many people believe that success is a result of talent and intelligence. However is a connector. Now, if you look at however, we can understand that the first statement is not 100% true, right? Okay, next, perseverance and a growth mindset are key to success. Okay, now, does it really match? Let's look at it. Okay, research suggests that perseverance, hard work, and a growth mindset play a far more significant role in achieving one's goals. Now, that is what the actual answer is going to be. Okay, so let's mark the option as B. Next, but nevertheless, let's look at other options as well. Got it? Okay, so talent is most important factor for success. Now, can we actually see anywhere that talent is the important factor for success? No, I don't really get to see, right? Next, people with a fixed mindset achieve more success. Now, let's just look at this one. On the other hand, those with a fixed mindset who believe that abilities are innate and unchangeable tend to avoid challenges and give up easily. So, does actually it mean that people with fixed mindset achieve more success? 100% no. So, here the right answer is going to be perseverance and a growth mindset are key to success. Okay, now let's just look at the next one. Okay, according to the passage, how do people with a fixed mindset behave? Okay, so people with a fixed mindset behave. Now again we have to come back to here. People with a fixed mindset, if you remember, we've read for the same thing. So, who believe that abilities are innate, which means on the other hand, with a fixed mindset, who believe that abilities are innate and unchangeable. Now we can understand according to the passage, how do people with a fixed mindset behave? Now how do they behave? So here, now I want you all to kind of focus on the other hand, those with a fixed mindset who believe that abilities are innate and unchangeable tend to avoid challenges. Now, which means for the second question, they avoid challenges and give up easily, and that's pretty clear here. That's stating unchangeable tend to avoid challenges and give up easily. So, the second question answer is going to be they avoid challenges and give up easily. Okay, now let's look at the third question. Which of the following best describes a growth mindset? Okay, now which of the following best describes a growth mindset? Believing that intelligence and skills cannot be developed, accepting challenges and learning from criticism, avoiding failures to maintain self confidence, depending only on natural talent for success. Now, even before we look at the right option, if you look at the third option, that avoiding failures to maintain self confidence, forget about paragraph. Even when we naturally look at it, failures doesn't really build self confidence. Failures kind of, if you avoid failures, it will not bring self confidence. It only, kind of creates that self doubt even more, right? So the third option is to be completely eliminated. Now, accepting challenges and learning from criticism, and that's pretty evident that we can actually see from this particular paragraph that studies have shown that individuals who embrace challenges, learn from criticism, and persist despite difficulties are more likely to succeed. Which means, for the third question, best describes a growth mindset is accepting challenges and learning from criticism. Okay, now let's just look at the fourth one. What does the passage suggest about the role of intelligence in success? Now, intelligence is the only factor that determines success. 100% no. Intelligence plays a minimal role compared to perseverance. Okay, now let's come back to that point again. Success is impossible without high intelligence. Now, can we anywhere actually find that success is impossible, uh, without intelligence, high intelligence? Now that point is also nowhere given. Intelligence guarantees success regardless of effort. No, if you look at the paragraph, many people believe that success is a result of talent and intelligence. However, which means that point is straight denying the fact of intelligence guarantees success regardless of efforts. Okay, now what is the right answer? Intelligence plays a minimal role compared to perseverance, which means more than intelligence. Okay, what plays a pivotal role is perseverance, hard work, and dedication. Now that's pretty understandable from this passage. Now what I want you to understand when you're doing a reading comprehension is that point number one, try to figure out the positives from the passage and try to figure out the negatives from the passage. On top of it all, every time you're reading a reading comprehension, the primary factor what you need to remember is what is the ultimate outcome from this passage. So what is the tone of the passage, what is the positive thing in the passage, what is the negative thing in the passage, what is actually talking about. So if you can make out all these things in the given time duration of 2 to 2.5 minutes, we can easily able to crack it. But again, along with that, when you're reading, I also want you to kind of give your attention for the vocabulary that you're reading in it, because at the end of it, the kind of vocabulary that you read might be the same thing that you end up finding in the question. Okay, now let's just look at the second paragraph. Okay, so let's just look at the second paragraph here. Okay, so reading comprehension 2. Human beings have an innate tendency to believe they have control over events even when outcomes are largely dictated by chance. This psychological bias, known as the illusion of control, influences decision making in various aspects of life, from financial investments to gambling and even superstitions. In one experiment, researchers observed participants rolling dice. Some were allowed to roll the dice themselves, while others had to watch a machine do it. Interestingly, those who rolled the dice themselves were more confident in predicting the outcome, even though the process was purely random. This experiment highlights how individuals perceive control where none exists. The illusion of control can have both positive and negative effects. On one hand, it can boost confidence and motivation, encouraging people to take risk and strive for success. On the other hand, it can lead to overconfidence and poor decision making, especially in high stake situations like stock trading or business ventures. Recognizing this bias is crucial for making more rational decisions and differentiating between actual influence and mere chance. Now, I want everyone to kind of look at the highlighted points that I'm talking about. Actually, when you look at an actual T6 exam, you will not get something highlighted like this, but I have highlighted because I want you all to understand how does it actually work. Okay, so this paragraph, you can understand it's talking about illusion of control. Okay, so that's pretty much evident that it's talking about illusion of control. Okay, now let's just look at the question, guys. Okay, if you look at the question, what is the primary argument of the passage? So the primary argument of the passage, let's just look at the options and let's come from the bottom. Superstitions are always harmful. Now you have actually not found something like that in the context. Next, gambling is a predictable activity. Okay, now this is something that we kind of find relatable to, because you can clearly understand that they have actually talked about gambling in this passage. Okay, gambling, even superstitions. Okay, so you can see aspects of life from financial investments to gambling and even superstitions. Okay, but actually is the primary argument about gambling and superstitions? Let's figure it out. Okay, the illusion of control can lead to irrational decisions. People can control all events in life. Now here, pretty much understandable the first option to be eliminated in the first place itself, because you don't really see the connection of this particular point to this. People can control all events in life. No, it's 100% wrong. Gambling is a predictable activity. No, that doesn't really fit in, because this entire paragraph is not just about gambling. Again, superstitions. This entire paragraph again is also not about superstitions. Now, what is the right answer? The right answer here actually is, you can make out by now, the illusion of control can lead to irrational decisions. Okay, let's look at the next question. What does the term illusion of control mean in the passage? Now, illusion of control, the ability to influence every situation, the mistaken belief that one has control over chance events, a scientific method to predict outcomes, a strategy for financial success. Now, a strategy for financial success is 100% an option to be eliminated, because the kind of three, paragraphs we have read, it's completely understandable that a strategy for financial success can be removed. Next, a scientific method to predict outcomes. Now, can we see anywhere that scientific we can do the scientific predictions and all? No, it is also not clearly seen. Next, the ability to influence every situation. If you notice between the first and second question, the ability to influence every situation, now people can control all events in life, if that is a wrong statement, it is pretty much understandable the ability to influence every situation is also a wrong statement. Now, what is the right answer? The mistaken belief that one has control over chance events. For example, if something is happening by chance, we think that we can control it. But now that is what illusion of control is. Illusion of control is that illusion, imagination. People think that they have control over, chance events, but that is not what it is, is what it is trying to tell us. So, the illusion of control mean in the passages, the mistaken belief that one has control over chance events is the answer. Now, I want you all to tell me the answer for the third question. What does the dice rolling experiment demonstrate? Okay. Now, if you notice, let me read it one more time for you about the dice rolling one. So, in one experiment, researchers observed participants rolling dice. Some were allowed to roll the dice themselves, while others had to watch a machine do it for them. Okay. Interestingly, those who rolled the dice themselves were more confident in predicting the outcome, even though the process was purely random. This experiment highlights how individuals perceive control over where none exists. Okay, next, what does the dice rolling experiment demonstrate? Now, let's look at the options. People are better at predicting outcomes when they roll the dice themselves. The process of rolling dice is not truly random. Individuals feel a greater sense of control when physically involved in activity. Machines are better at rolling dice than humans. Now, option D, I want you to carefully look at, because that will be the first one to eliminate actually. Correct? Machines are better at rolling dice than humans. Obviously, no. Now, I want you all to pick up option 1, 2 or 3. Can I see in the comment section what do you people think is the option, please? Option C. Okay. Option 1. Okay, next. Option A. Okay, now I get a mixed opinion of options between A and C. Now let's understand what is actually the right option. People are better at predicting outcomes when they roll the dice themselves. Okay, that's pretty true. But the actual correct answer is individuals feel a greater sense of control when physically involved in an activity is the right one, which means C is the right one. Because here the point is, it is just an experiment about rolling the dice, but not just rolling the dice. Any activity that when you involve and do it by yourself, you can actually predict the outcome rather than a machine doing it for us. Now, that's what I want to tell you. Here, it's just an experiment. The reason why A is not a right answer is because In one experiment, researchers observed that participants rolling dice, some were allowed to roll the dice themselves, while others, they have done it through machine. But interestingly, those who rolled the dice themselves were more confident in predicting the outcome, which means it's not about just rolling the dice. Instead, it's about individuals feeling a greater sense of control when they physically involve in an activity. So sometimes I want everybody to understand, you should not take in the actual expression, instead try to look at the general understanding of the question. So when you look at the general understanding of the question, that's when you can understand, is it actually a true translation form of understanding, or they're asking a generalized explanation of that particular statement. So it's not just about rolling the dice and predicting the outcome. Instead, it is about individual feels a greater sense of control when physically involved in an activity. Okay, now let's look at the fourth question. According to the passage, how can the illusion of control be beneficial? Okay, it helps people avoid taking risk. It eliminates uncertainty in decision making. It increases confidence and motivation. It guarantees success in financial investment. Now, D is obviously a wrong option because it doesn't guarantee any financial investments. That's pretty understandable from the passage. It increases confidence and motivation. Now, something to be looked at. It eliminates uncertainty in decision making. Can be an answer. It helps people avoid taking risk. Now, A and D option can straight be eliminated. Now, I want you to pick up an answer between B and C because I already told you. Okay, just comment the answer in the comment section, please. So what do you think is the answer? Uncertainty in decision making, or it improves confidence and motivation? What do you think is the option? B or C? Okay, some said B and some said C. Okay, now let me tell you, the right answer is actually C, because when you do a physical activity by yourself, it's not just about uncertainty in decision making. Instead, when we physically involve in an activity, it improves our confidence and motivation. So the answer for this particular question, according to the passage, how can the illusion of control be beneficial? It increases confidence and motivation. Okay, now let's just look at the reading comprehension 3. So this is something that we all pretty relate to. Now, if we go to a lot of group discussions and walk-in interviews or maybe jam sessions, AI is most talked topic. Correct? Yes or no? So AI is always, it's always been a contemporary topic in the market because it's only, it only has an evolution. Correct? Yes or no? So now let's just look at this passage and try to understand what questions are we going to get. Okay? So everybody please read. Artificial intelligence has revolutionized industries by automating processes, improving efficiency, and enabling data-driven decision making. However, the rapid advancement of AI has also raised serious ethical concerns. Guys, even before I start reading or the next line of the passage, or even before I explain you the complete passage, what I want you all to understand is that the very moment you see, however, I want you to understand it's going to bring in the contrast opinion of the passage. Okay, that's pretty much a simple thing I want you all to remember. Imagine you're reading something and then you have seen a word called however. Now, whatever the first 2-3 lines or maybe 4 lines, whatever you read, after however, you are going to get the contrast opinion of what you have read in the previous lines. Okay, so however, the rapid advancement of AI has also raised serious ethical concerns. One of the primary issues is algorithmic bias. Okay, whereas AI systems unintentionally reinforce societal prejudices due to biased training data. This bias can lead to unfair hiring practices, discriminatory loan approvals, and even flawed judicial decisions. Now we can clearly understand whatever we get to read in the first paragraph, it's pretty much understandable. It is only talking about all negative sides and concerns of AI. Okay, next let's look at the another one, another major concern, which means now we can understand whatever we are reading in the second paragraph is also something that's linked to the first paragraph that we have read. Okay, so another major concern is autonomous decision making. AI driven systems such as self-driving cars or automated weapons must be programmed to make real-time ethical choices. For example, in an unavoidable accident, should a self-driving car prioritize the safety of its passengers or pedestrians? Such dilemmas highlight the limitations of encoding morality into artificial systems. Now, here we can understand it's pretty much talking about ethical dilemmas that's involved with AI. Okay, next. Furthermore, the increasing dependency on AI poses risks to human employment. While automation enhances productivity, it also leads to job displacements, particularly in industries reliant on repetitive tasks. Although some argue that AI creates new job opportunities, the transition requires substantial reskilling, which many workers may struggle to adapt to. Now, so far, whatever we have read in the passage, most of the points, they're all negative only. You have come across only one or two positives about AI here. Next, as AI continues to evolve, policymakers, researchers, and industry leaders must collaborate to ensure ethical AI deployment. Striking a balance between innovation and ethical responsibility is crucial to maximizing AI's benefits while mitigating its risks. Now, from this paragraph, we've understood that they are talking a lot, which means more than talking the good factors about AI, it's pretty much understandable that they are talking a lot of risk factors that's involved in AI. Correct? Yeah. Now let's look at the passage. What is the main concern regarding AI's decision making ability? Let's look at the options. AI can never make correct decisions. Okay. AI systems struggle with ethical dilemmas. AI is more intelligent than humans. AI eliminates all human biases. Okay. Now we can eliminate option D, 100%. AI is more intelligent than humans. It is nowhere stated in the entire passage. Next, AI systems struggle with ethical dilemmas. Now, I have already told you that AI, this entire passage is actually primarily focusing on the ethical dilemmas that's involved with AI. So, the correct answer for this particular passage is going to be AI systems struggle with ethical dilemmas. Now that's understandable. Okay, AI can never make correct decisions. They are not saying AI can never make correct decisions. The primary factor, if you notice, they have talked here is that it cannot make only ethical decisions. Now it's give me a second, guys. Okay. Uh Automating processes, improving efficiency, and enabling data driven decision making. It can make a it can have a decision making thing, but again, it is nowhere told that it can ever make decision making. It is said that it can have a decision making, but ethically involved decision making, no, that's not what it is told in the passage. AI systems struggle with ethical dilemmas, so this is actually the right answer for this particular question. Now let's look at the next one. Okay. What does algorithmic bias refer to in the passage? Now let's just look here. So algorithmic bias. Now what do they actually intend by algorithmic bias? Where AI systems unintentionally reinforce societal prejudices. Now that's what here it is. What does algorithmic refers bias refer to in the passage? AI systems always make fair decisions. No, no chance by reading this passage. AI unintentionally reinforces societal prejudices. Now, this is the actual answer. Now, let's look at other options as well. AI is programmed to be neutral. No. AI does not require human oversight. No. So, the correct answer is AI unintentionally reinforces societal prejudices. Okay. Now, let's look at the next question. How does AI impact employment according to the passage? Now, very important question. Now, let's come back to here. Furthermore, the increasing dependency on AI poses risk to human employment. It is understandable. Now, what kind of risk does it involve? Okay, while automation enhances productivity, it also leads to job displacement, particularly in industries reliant on repetitive tasks. Although some argue that AI creates new job opportunities, the transition requires substantial reskilling. Okay. Now, how does AI impact employment according to the passage? So, AI completely eliminates jobs without creating new opportunities. No, it is nowhere told that it will not create any new employment opportunities. It is believed that it will create new employment opportunities. Next, AI creates new job without any disadvantage. It is nowhere told. It also has a lot of disadvantages, and that's what it's told, right? It leads to job displacement. The very factor that it leads to job displacement, we can understand that it comes with a disadvantage. Next, AI increases productivity but also causes job displacement. Exactly. Now, that's the right answer. The reason is because furthermore, increasing dependency on AI poses risk to human employment, while automation enhances productivity, which means it also has productivity in it, but along with which it also causes job displacement. So now for this one, the right answer is Option C, AI increases productivity but also causes job displacement. Now, let's look at the next question. Why is AI in self driving cars considered an ethical challenge? Okay, so now let's look at the options. AI cannot control vehicle speed. AI struggles with making moral decisions in emergencies. AI makes driving more dangerous. AI eliminates human errors completely. I want you to look at the question and answer, options, so that I'll, go back up again. AI cannot control vehicle speed. That's option A, remember. AI struggles with making moral decisions in emergencies. Option B, remember. AI makes driving more dangerous. Option C, AI eliminates human errors completely. Now, let's go back to the passage. Now, if you remember, we have a whole complete passage on that. Another major concern is autonomous decision making. AI driven systems such as self driving cars and automated weapons must be programmed to make real time ethical choices. For example, in an unavoidable accident, should a self driving car prioritize the safety of its passengers or pedestrians? Such dilemmas highlight the limitation of encoding morality into artificial systems. So, now what I want you all to look at is that, okay, so such as self driving cars and automated weapons must be programmed to make real time ethical choices. Okay, so now this is what it is. So now tell me, according to you, what is the right answer for question number 4? Why is AI self-driving cars considered as ethical challenge? What do you think is option? A, B, C, D. Fourth answer, please. Okay, somebody said option B. Next, any other opinion? Okay, now let's just look at it. So somebody got it really right. Because AI cannot control vehicle speed is nowhere given. AI makes driving more dangerous. It is nowhere told. Even a metaphor is also not used to explain that statement. Next, AI eliminates human errors completely. No, even that is not given. So the right answer is AI struggles with making moral decisions in emergencies. Okay, now let's look at the last one. What is the author's perspective on AI? AI should be banned due to its ethical concerns. AI should be developed without restrictions. AI has potential benefits but must be regulated ethically. AI is completely flawless. Now let's look at eliminating options. AI is completely flawless. No, it's not flawless by looking at all, the above options. Next, AI has potential benefits but must be regulated ethically. Exactly. AI also helps in the new job opportunities, but again, it comes also with a disadvantage. Correct? Yes or no? So that is the reason the correct answer is AI has potential benefits but must be regulated ethically, because we also said in the above answer that AI has ethical dilemma issues, because at the most unexpected circumstances, AI might not be able to make the right decision, and that's why people think that AI is a little dangerous and it should be taken into consideration. Correct? So now the correct answer is AI has potential benefits but must be regulated ethically is the right option. I hope everybody understood about reading comprehension. Let me give you a small and a quick glance about reading comprehension, guys. Whenever you are reading a passage, I want you to understand, first of all, focus on what is the content. Is it talking about the positives of the topic, or is it talking about the negatives of the topic, or is it talking about both positives and negatives, and what is the final outcome of the reading comprehension? What tone have they used? Okay, what can be the title of that particular passage? So if you can look at all these kind of questions, a reading comprehension is going to be a cakewalk for you. Got it, everyone? Any other doubts on the reading comprehension? Please feel free to comment. If you guys have no doubts, can you please drop a comment? Can we move ahead with the next question? Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, now let's look at the fill in the blanks and look at this question very carefully. This was a question that is given in the year 2022. So this was a fill in the blank that was given. Let's look at the question and then the options. Okay, so the woman was dashed and brought down by an aerial ladder from a window on the 6th floor and was being dashed in a hospital. Now let's look at the options: conscious, competing, flying, absent. Now, let's look at it. Competing. There is no way nobody would compete in the hospital. Flying, nobody would land in the hospital, by flying. Next, absent. If it is absent, then why she put, in the hospital and was being dash in the hospital? So obvious. So the correct answer is going to be, the women was brought conscious. Okay. So what is the right option here? The women was conscious and brought down by an aerial ladder from a window on the sixth floor and was being dashed. Okay, now let's look at the options. Watered, played, laughed, treated. Now, happily, we can eliminate, guys. I don't know. This is such a pretty nice question that's come in the year 2022. I hope such question comes in the next examination on March 20 as well. Watered, a wrong answer. Played, 100% wrong answer. Laughed, obviously nobody would laugh, correct? So treated. So now the correct option is treated. Okay. Now let's just look at the options that we can write here. So now the women was conscious. What is the answer? The women was conscious and brought down by an aerial ladder from a window on the sixth floor and was being treated in a hospital. Now this is what it is. Okay, but for the second one I want you all to answer. Let's just look at the next question. So this question also has come in the year 2024, guys. Okay, so this was another question that's come in the year 2024. Let's look at it. The fire dot dot on the fourth floor of an 8-story building in the major business, shopping and entertainment area of Kisanshi, Osaka fire dash Akira Kishimoto said. Okay, now let's look at the options. Departed, started, deceased, quit. Okay, for the next options, fighter, department, official and station. I repeat the question one more time. The fire dot dot on the fourth floor of an 8-story building in the major business, shopping and entertainment area of Kisanshi, Osaka fire dot dot Akira Kishimoto said. Now departed obviously doesn't fit. Started, deceased, quit. Okay, now what do you think is the right option, everybody? Can I see comments, please? So what do you think is the right answer for this one? The fire dot dot on the fourth floor of an 8-story building in the major business, shopping and entertainment area. Okay, now what do you think is the answer? Can someone please comment? B and D. Okay, that's nice. I get to see good answers. So the fire started. So here the correct answer is going to be the fire started on the fourth floor of an 8-story building in a major business, shopping and entertainment area of Kisanshi, Osaka fire. Now the question is it fire official or is it fire station? Because the name sounds pretty different, it doesn't look like it's an Indian name, or it doesn't really fit in. You don't understand if they're talking about the name of the station or if it is the name of an official, which means the person. So the correct answer is fire official Akira Kishimoto said. Okay, so here the correct answer is going to be fire official is the right answer, guys. Okay, got it, everyone? I hope everybody made a note of it. Let's look at the next one. Okay, yeah. So this question again, it's come in the year 2023. Okay, now let's just look at it. One of the part of sentence below may contain an error. Identify the part. If there is no error, choose no error. So, okay, even before I answer this question, if you have heard the previous class by now, you must be saying the answer, guys. Okay, the reason is because, one second. Yes. So everyday life have become more complicated with the advancement in mobile technology. I remember telling you people already that whenever you get things like, okay, let me make a list out of it here. So if you talk about, I hope everyone can see the board. So if you get to see every day, okay, everyone, okay, someone, okay, and then somebody, and then everything. Whenever you get things as such, it is always going to be singular, which means you need to use has but not Have is a blunder here, guys. I hope it makes sense now. So everyday life have become, this is the error here. You will not get everyday life have become, you have to say everyday life has become. So this is the wrong option that's given in this particular question. Okay, let's go with the next one. Okay, so again, this question has also come in the year 2022. Okay, so did you remember dash seats for the theater tomorrow? Yes, I have the tickets here. Do you mind dash it with you? I fear I may lose them. Okay, now if you look at it, what I want you all to understand is that whenever you get did in the sentence, in the question form of did, even in the negative form of did not, always remember with, like, how do I tell you, you can just bluntly go with a V1 form of the verb, guys. Remember, whenever you get did or maybe did not, the verb form should always be in the V1. For example, she did not eat, she did not sleep, he did not complete his assignment. Did he come from his village? Okay, did he complete his assignment? Did he clear his final round of interview? So whenever you get did and did not in the sentence, it's pretty much understandable without the second thought that you're only going to get V1 verb form, right? So here, did you remember to book? Now, to have booked, again, booked, we will not get ed form of the verb. Booked, we will not get ed form of the verb. Booking, we will also not get ing form of the verb, because to book, what are the four forms of book? Okay, so V1 is going to be book, and so the V2 is going to be booked. Okay, and V3 is also going to be booked, and V4 is going to be booking, which means it's an ing form. So did V1. So without any second thought, you can happily go for the option D. So did you remember to book? Now again, it's pretty much common sense. If you can remember the first logic of it, you think that the first half is going to be from the D, the second half is going to be from the B, or maybe no thing as such, works. Exactly. So that is the reason why, if we remember a couple of logics, it's pretty easy to figure out the next half of the sentence. So did you remember to book, which means after that, do you mind keeping it with you? I fear I may lose them, which means whenever you get did and did not in the sentence, the verb form should always got to be only V1. Here it is, this can be V3 because have has come, so have booked is V3, booked is V2, booking is again ing form, which means it is V4. So the correct answer is to book V1. Now you might ask me a question that, ma'am, booked and booked. Now if we notice here, V2 is also booked, V3 is also booked. Now how do we understand which one is V3 and which one is V2? I hope you all got that question. Now let me tell you, you get V3 only with have, has, and had. So if you don't find any of these helping verbs and just the main verb is there, then you can understand it is from V2. Okay, so the explanation might seem little complicated for you to understand, but at the end of the session, I will definitely explain this question one more time with the verb forms. Okay, but here I want you all to remember the correct option is going to be to book. So now let's read the question again. Did you remember to book seats for the theater tomorrow? Yes, I have the tickets here. Do you mind keeping it with you? I fear I may lose them. Okay, now let's go with the next question. Okay, yes. So vocabulary. Okay, so now vocabulary, this question is given in the year 2021. So let's look at the synonym. Okay, they wanted me to expound on this topic because I had some decent ideas on the subject. Now they want us to figure out what is the synonym word that we use for expound. Okay, so like I said, in vocabulary, especially when you have come across a word and then you have never heard it, the ideal way of coming to a conclusion about an answer is by eliminating options. Okay, now how do we eliminate options? Paucity, notoriety, partisan, expatiate. So we have four different options. Now paucity is something that's too little, which means you can consider it as very less. Okay, next, notoriety. Notoriety is something that's famous, but it's famous for wrong reason. Okay, so you can remember it as it is famous, but in a negative way is what you call notoriety. Next, partisan. Now, partisan is you are simply supporting an idea, okay, or imagine you're supporting a thought or something without considering it carefully. Okay, so for example, imagine somebody has come to you with an idea stating that, hey, let's just do this. Now you have not thought of the pros or the cons that come along with it. So what did you say? You simply said yes. So then it is called as partisan. Okay, now expatiate. Now expatiate means I wanted to understand with the meaning. I had some decent ideas on the subject. Now, decent ideas on the subject means expatiate. Somebody who has little knowledge, not too little, that can actually decent complementing way, which means it can decently complement whatever the work that you're doing. For example, they have good enough knowledge to do that particular task, or good enough skill, good enough knowledge. If they have it, that's what you call expatiate. Now you can understand they wanted me to expatiate on this topic because I had some decent ideas on the subject, which means just in case if they have decent knowledge or decent skill or decent amount of thoughts, ideas, or some sort of an experience with that, that's when you call it as expatiate. Okay, so posset is very less, notoriety is famous, but for all negative reasons, for all wrong reasons. Okay, next, partisan is you are supporting the idea, or you're in support of it, you like it, you're agreeing to it, but then you're not thinking of the consequences that comes along with it. Okay, so expatiate is the right answer for expound. So expound is something that you are good at and then you can manage the work. Okay, so expatiate is the right answer for this one. Let's look at the next one. Okay, this is again another question that's given in the year 2022. Select the most appropriate synonym to substitute the bracketed word in the given sentence. So the manager's acrimonious remarks led to a heated debate during the meeting. Now, when you read such an answer, eliminating options would be very, very easy. Now, why is it easy? Because if it is pleasant, okay, then it won't lead to a heated debate. If it's pleasant, why will it lead to a debate? Debate itself means understandable that people have different opinions and it's kind of an argument, right? Next, humorous. Again, that doesn't really fit. Humorous is, it can be in a good way or it can be in a bad way, but definitely it cannot lead to a heated debate. Next, inspiring. If it's inspiring, again, just like pleasant, it will not lead to a heated debate. So, acrimonious means the answer is bitter. So the manager's bitter remarks led to a heated debate in the meeting. So now that's pretty much what you can understand. If it is a heated debate, it is not pleasant, it's not humorous, it's not inspiring. So the right answer here is going to be bitter. Okay, now again guys, it is an advantage that sometimes even when we don't know the meaning, we can understand the context, the content of that particular sentence and can try to figure out an answer for that. Okay, now let's just look at the next one. This is again given in the year 2021. Okay, select the most appropriate synonym of the given word indolence. Okay, so indolence, the correct answer is laziness. Now guys, if you ask me, ma'am, how do we figure out if it is intelligence or if it is exhibition or if it's inadequacy? Now let me tell you guys, there are a couple of words in the language that we don't really tend to use when we speak, so it just comes out of practice. Okay, so when you hear words like this, I want you all to think of a synonym, think of an antonym, and try to just remember inside your head. Okay, yes. So now let's go with the next question. Okay, so let's look at the antonym. Select the most appropriate antonym of the given word, curt. So the meaning of the word curt is actually, something that's abrupt, like that's cut, rude. So you can imagine the synonym of curt is actually rude or abrupt, which means something that's unintentionally or maybe intentionally cut up by something, which means you started off something and somebody has interrupted what you're doing is what you call curt. Now the opposite of curt is actually polite. Okay, precise is brief, simple explanation. So the antonym of the given word curt actually is polite, because the synonym of the word curt is rude or maybe abrupt. Okay, yeah. Next, error correction. Huh. Now I want you to answer this question, guys. Even in the comment, tell me if you get it right or wrong, because I already told you each of the students have submitted their assignments on time. Tell me what error can you find in this particular sentence. Have submitted their assignments on time, or each of the students. I already told you each of the student, which means it is an individual addressal. If it is individual addressal, what you get is what I want you all to think of. Can I see comments, please? What is the wrong option there? Each of the students have submitted their assignments on time. Is it each of the students have submitted their assignments or on time? What is the wrong? What is the error there? Can I see people commenting? And after also, people, please let me know after watching the video if you got it right or maybe wrong. Has, okay, somebody said has. Can I, see a few more people answering it, or maybe someone with a different opinion? Yes. So everyone thinks has is the answer. Okay, now let me tell you, actually true. Each of the students, it does not have submitted, it is actually has submitted, which means this is the answer that you got to put up. The reason is because each of the students, which means it is an individual addressal. Individual addressal means it is talking about singular. So whenever something is being told in a singular way, you will never ever get have. Instead, you will get has. So here, the expression of the sentence should have been each of the students has submitted their assignments on time, but instead they have given have, which means the wrong option here is that each of the students have submitted. So the wrong option is have submitted, because with the word each of the, it is an individual addressal, which means singular, and for all singulars we will only get has, and for plural then we will get have. So I hope I made it clear. Yes, everybody? Perfect. Okay, thank you guys. I hope you all understood that. Now let's just look at the next question. Okay. So the next question, identify the part of the sentence that contains an error. One of the unreturned book was found in the parking lot, and tell me what is error. If the unreturned book, no error, was found in the parking lot, one off. Guys, if you have seen the previous video, at the end of it, I've already told you people that whenever you get one off, remember carefully, please, just in case if you're watching it, I want you all to remember, it might help you in future as well, that this is not just for the writing purpose, it's also for the speaking purpose in the language. Whenever you get one off, it always, got to be plural. Okay, the reason is because you are talking about one in many, which means one of the returned book. It is not one of the returned book, it is supposed to be one of the returned books, because you have returned a lot of books, out of which you are talking about one, right? So whenever you're using one of, always remember to use in the plural form. For example, one of my friends, one of my cousins, one of the colleges, one of my uncles, one of the cities, okay, one of the places, one of my favorite actors, which means you have a lot of favorite actors, out of which you are choosing to talk about one. So whenever you get one of, always remember the answer has to be in the plural. So here the wrong option is the unreturned book. Okay, yes. Now let's look at the next question. So next question, this is again given in the year 2020. Okay, identify the part of the sentence that contains an error. The teacher of English gave him a homework to complete by night positively. Now if you look at this question, imagine or just try to understand if we have any error in this question. Okay, so just in case if you find, do let me know. Yes or no, maybe? Yes, okay, thank you. So, yes, let's just get back to this question. The teacher of English gave him a homework. Okay, so now, what just happened? Yeah, so the teacher of English gave him a homework to complete by night positively. So the teacher of English. Now this option is definitely correct. The reason is because the teacher of English, you have used the, because the subject is actually clearly mentioned. Now let's just look at gave him a homework to complete. Again, this is not going to be an option, this is not going to be an option, and no error is also not an option because it actually has an error, and the error is gave him a homework. Actually, if you look at this particular sentence, so uncountable noun, guys, the term homework is an uncountable noun and it should not be preceded by the article a. So the actual sentence is supposed to be the teacher of English gave him homework, okay, to complete by night positively. So here the wrong option is gave him a homework. It is not supposed to be a homework. Instead, it is supposed to be, okay, let's remove this one and read. The teacher of English gave him homework to complete by night positively. Okay, since because it is an uncountable noun, you will not get any sort of an article there that doesn't include a, an, or maybe the as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. This is all about error spotting. So we have covered a couple of topics like reading comprehension, fill in the blanks, and we've also covered error spotting. We've also covered a little of synonyms and antonyms. But what I want you all to understand, little practice is needed even before when you're actually going for an exam, especially for error correction. Okay. Now, like somebody's asked me about ma'am, how do we decide V1, V2, V3 and V4? Okay, now let me tell you here. I will just explain you in the most simple format. If I tell you the complete grammar logic of it, you might feel bored or also you might not listen. So I'm just telling you the loopholes of it, okay? So whenever you talk about V1, V2, V3 and V4, we have two different types of verb forms, guys. So that's one is called as regular one and another one is called as irregular one. So regular one is pretty much understandable, something that is common. So you will get ed here and ed here. For example, if I say cooked, okay, so here also you'll get cooked and here also you'll get cooked. Now this is what you call regular form. Okay, now let me tell you the irregular. So for example, imagine I have taken a verb form called eat and here I got ate and here I have got eaten. So now this one, when you get V1, V2, V3, V4, all the four different forms if you get, that is when you call it as irregular. I hope I made it clear. If you get V2 and V3 same, okay, then you call it as regular one. If all the four are different, then you call it as irregular. Okay, now I will just explain you in another simple way stating that. Okay, 1 second. Okay, for example, I have written a sentence called, so imagine my sentence is, okay, so imagine my sentence is, I booked a movie ticket. Okay, now imagine this is my sentence, I booked a movie ticket. Now my another sentence is, I have booked a movie ticket. Okay, now let me write V1, V2 and V3, V4 for it. So book, okay, and then booked, and then the V3 is also going to be booked, and obviously the V4 is going to be the ing form of it as booking. Okay, now this one is taken from the V2 and this one is taken from the V3. If you notice, V2 is also booked, V3 is also booked. Correct? Yes or no? Now, how do I decide this one is from V2 and this one is from V3? The reason is because anytime you will get have, okay, has and had, you will only pick it up from V3. Like, for example, let me write one more sentence for you. So, I ate chocolate is a sentence. Now, my another sentence is going to be, I have eaten chocolate. Okay, now in this sentence, you can understand this is from V2 and this is from V3. The reason is because V2 and V3 are completely different. But for this one, V2 and V3 are same. Now, how do you differentiate if it is picked up from V2 or V3 is based on the presence of have, has and had. If you see the helping verb have, has and had, you can easily understand the verb form is picked up from the third column. Have, has, had. the verb form always got to be picked up only from the third column. If there is no have, has, and had, then the verb form is picked up from the V2. Got it, everyone? So I hope everybody understood what is a regular form and irregular verb form. Regular is V2. So V2 and V3, if it is same, then it's going to be regular one. Okay. If V2 and V3 look different, then it is irregular one. Okay. For example, a regular verb form like, let's take dance. Okay. Dance, danced, and V3 is also going to be danced, and V4 is going to be dancing, and then you call this as a regular verb form. Now let's look at irregular. For example, if you take, okay, let's take one common verb form that we all know, take. Okay, we all know take. Okay, so take, took, and then taken, and then this is taking. Now you can understand, if you look at this, and this, all four are different, which means if all the four verb forms are different, then you call it as irregular. The name itself justifies. Got it, everyone? So with have, has, and had, you're going to get V3. If it is not have, has, and had, you're going to get V2. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. I hope all your doubts are clarified. Just in case if you have few more doubts, we'd like to request you to drop a comment in the comment section, and we'll reply you, just in case if you want to listen any more topics. And if you find this informative, I'd like to request you all that please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel CV Corp, and any doubts, please do comment. Okay, thank you, everyone. That's it for today's session. CV Corp, your career partner. Thank you, everyone.